Well, here it comes.
What is up, guys? Coach Wardlaw here with another episode of 4th and Ward, the only podcast featuring the Wardlaw coaching brothers. We appreciate you guys tuning in every Sunday, wherever you listen to your podcast. We also put the full videos up on YouTube. So however you enjoy listening to us, we appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, be sure to drop a comment. Jack, today's episode, we're actually going to dive through some of the comments that some of the folks have been dropping for us and kind of going down some different topics that some of the listeners and viewers want to hear about. You doing all right today, Jack?
Good, man. Good, man. Hanging in there. How y'all doing?
Doing all right. We had some tornado warnings come through this afternoon, and so I had to rearrange our whole afternoon with practice and stuff like that. But
Yikes.
yeah, it's been fun times. Had a tree split in our neighborhood, so now like one of the easiest ways to get out of the neighborhood is cut off until they clear that out. But other than that, we're all good, man.
A tornado's no joke, man. Especially out there.
Tornado. Yeah, Tornado Alley out here, dude. It'll make you think twice. I've been thinking about getting a tiny home, put in my backyard and making that just like my dojo. But days where the weather's like this, I'm like, yeah, it might not be the best idea.
Just get a bunker. Just build a bunker underground.
Yeah,
Make
that might
that
be
your
a winning
office.
idea
And then
right
you
there.
got tornado shelter, and you can still record the podcast during tornadoes.
Yeah, no, that's what I was worried about. I was trying to record tonight and then the power get knocked out and the Wi-Fi go out and just being miserable sitting in the dark. But thankfully we avoided all that. But let's see here. So I was diving through the comments. We got a comment from TikTok here. I wish I could say his username, Ezo99. All right, it says, if you had the chance, would you coach college ball or are you satisfied with where you're at? What you think about that?
For me, no, I wouldn't. And the reason I say that is, in college I worked at Clemson, and so I kind of saw what all goes into that. And the time commitment that is, especially in college when you have to recruit, go on the road recruiting and all that kind of stuff. And now you got to deal with the transfer portal. I mean, they get compensated very well, but no, not for me. I love what I do now. The kids are great. And I just love being in a high school environment, helping these kids. I'm very satisfied where I'm at right now. How about
Yeah,
you?
that was kind of the same thought I had was, especially now that got a family, got mouths to feed, got family time that I want to have. Yeah, during the season, it's still some long days for us, but those guys do some crazy hours year round. And, if you're talking about just college ball in general, there's a lot of different levels. Of course, everybody sees, the highest paid guys at the highest levels. And it might seem like the juice is worth the squeeze on that. But man, like I've heard some stories about, your D3s, your D2s, even some FCS, the 1AA schools.
Yeah.
Where if you're just a position coach, I mean, you're making like half of what I might make as a astronomy teacher and a high school coach.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, and then like you said, you got a transfer portal you got to worry about. You got recruiting you got to worry about. I don't hate the classroom that much. I actually enjoy my teaching job. Like you said, I like the kids that I'm around. And for me, the juice ain't worth the squeeze on it. Now, if you're saying you can waltz right into some Power 5 job and you're clearing, a ton of money from the jump, that's one thing to consider, but those guys too are also moving around all the time. And
Yeah.
we got kids in school and stuff like that. Those are all things that
Well,
I don't
now,
want to go uprooting my family a ton.
if I could get an Ed Orgeron contract, get fired and still get paid, what, $17 million? Is that how much I would do that? And I would suck at it the first year, get fired, and retire. I'd be done. That's it. One and done.
If you can get those solid like coaching like buyouts or the termination money or whatever, where like it sucks and it's kind of embarrassing that you got fired and all that, but who's really the winner there? Like,
right?
who's clearing a lot of money just to sit at home and chill?
Yeah, you talking all this junk, laughing at me. I got fired. Okay, I'm in the Bahamas just chilling. Bought me a cabana down here. I don't have to work a day of my life.
Just put the fries in the bag, dude.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, if they're making fun of you about that, like, nah, man, let me just give me my meal. And speaking of that, random question, but I guess we actually got dropped a comment here. Go-to Whataburger order. Now, I know Whataburgers are not as frequent back in South Carolina, but do you have a go-to Whataburger order?
Well, for me, it's just like the patty melt, think it's got double patties with a little, I don't know if it's Swiss cheese. It's a white cheese. I'm not sure, but the patty melt, get you some fries, get you some onion rings. Now, if I'm going to Whataburger, I'm going to town. All right. So this may seem like a lot, but you got to get the patty melt, some fries with it, right? Get a soda, whatever you want to drink. A little bit of onion ring action, even though they kill me with the heartburn, worth it. And then a milkshake. Top it all off with a little milkshake on the end. And we played a school. And if you know the upstate of South Carolina, Woodruff Road in Greenville, okay? The school was right off of Woodruff Road, and we had to go back that way to get back after the game. And we won the game. And so me and the couple of other coaches that drive, we have the equipment in the truck beforehand. We leave. We're like, hey man, let's stop at Whataburger real quick, get some burgers for the coach's office on the way back. So we roll up to Whataburger, and I'm talking order like 24 cheeseburgers, 6 large fries, onion rings, and like they're losing their mind,
Oh
like
yeah, because I'm sure
freaking
that
out.
was late too, right?
Oh, it was probably 10:30, maybe 11 almost.
Oh yeah, they're
They
hating life.
are. Oh, they are so mad. Anyway, we get the food, we get back, and it was the night that was it Logan Paul and Mike Tyson? It's the
Yeah, yeah.
Logan Paul, right? That was on. So we watched that in the coach's office, eating some burgers after a win. All-time moment right there. And I'll tell you another one. This isn't Whataburger, but it's along the same lines. We did the same thing to a McDonald's on the way back from a game, and it was like 12 double cheeseburgers, 12 McChickens, some fries, whatever. We placed it on the app, right? Maybe 5 minutes before we pulled up to this McDonald's. We roll in deep. All 4 of us get out wearing, our coaching gear. And out of the back of the restaurant, you just hear, this dude got 12 McChickens too? I made
He
somebody
was
else
having to
pick it
hurt his
up.
patient, man. Yeah, y'all were putting him through it, dude, man.
What's your go-to Whataburger? Y'all got a lot of them out there.
Yeah, they're one at every exit, it seems like out here. And I used to eat it way more than I do now. It's gotten where it's really expensive if you want to go to a Whataburger run. But I got to where I would get I had a couple of different avenues I would go through. I would sometimes get that chicken tender sandwich. All right. And so they do the 3 tenders on the Texas toast, the cheese, and then they put like a barbecue sauce or something like that. And then I think that might just be it. But I would get the barbecue sauce off of it, and I would add on bacon. I would add on like the veggies, the grilled onions, all that good stuff.
It's a deluxe, man.
Jalapenos. Yeah, dude. If I'm doing the add-ons, like it gets a little wild. But I would then sub the barbecue sauce for their ranch and just tell them like extra, just load it down. But
That
probably
thing's
one of the
ripping.
best. Oh, dude, yeah, it needs to be the bread needs to be super buttery. All the grilled veggies need to be falling off of it, and
Sounds
then
so
got to
good.
have a lot of sauce. Yeah, it's if I do the patty melt, man, I had a really good hack one time with the patty melt. I think I would have them. Oh, it was the mushrooms. So I get the patty sauce off of it. Add all the same things I just told you about. I put on the chicken tender sandwich, but I would get the jalapeno ranch smothered on the patty melt. And there was something you could do with the buns, but I can't remember now what I used to get to the buns. Maybe I put the buns inside out or something like that. There was something you could do, and you just taste the butter that was on it. It's
Inside
legit.
out. Like the patty on the outside and the bun in the middle?
Well, no, like so you
Oh,
would take
flipped.
they flip the patties so that you get the part that's normally touching the meat is now what you're tasting when you eat it. So they're laying that stuff, that butter and all that, where they're toasting the bun
Yeah,
and all that.
that direct
Yeah,
hit.
there's way more customizations and add-ons you can do at Whataburger that I feel like people don't want you to know about because it probably takes them
Yeah.
extra time to do it. But
Well, they hate it. And
that's
it's like Chick-fil-A.
yeah.
Chick-fil-A did people would get their fries well done,
Oh,
but then
that
they
was the
put a stop
best,
to it.
man.
Like they put a stop to it and they started limiting sauces. I'm like, all right, Chick-fil-A's done. Like you're going downhill now.
Yeah, that's the Lord's chicken that's turning communist, telling me how many sauces I need. I want all the ranch. When I say I want ranch, I want like at least 3 packs.
Yeah, put the
Gotta
ranch
get
in the
smothered
bag,
down.
say my pleasure. What are we doing? This is Chick-fil-A.
Yeah,
All right, get it right. Get it right.
one of
Oh,
the best.
sorry. Spicy ketchup at
No, you're good.
Whataburger. The
Yeah, it's
spicy
legit.
ketchup.
I don't even eat the regular ketchup from there. It's always the spicy. It's legit, man.
Gotta stop talking about this.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to do this intermittent fast and stuff, so talking about all this food is,
We always
but I
get
got one
back to
more food
food.
story. Yeah, I got one more food story. So the first year I was out here and, one of my jobs on varsity game days, there's always if it was a close enough game, a few coaches would stay back and we'd lift the JV guys during eighth period while the varsity team's probably already hit the road. And then we drive, in a personal vehicle or a school vehicle or whatever to get up to where we were playing. But anyway, we were playing in Royce City, which is about, and on the traffic, probably a 40-minute drive for us. We were able to get the lift knocked out by 4:15, 4:30, whatever the time was, get those guys dismissed, and then we hit the road. We're headed up to Royce City. Well, beside Royce City's football stadium is a Buc-ee's. I mean, like, in the parking lot on the home side is basically a Buc-ee's. So as we're pulling off the interstate, we hit that stop in the Buc-ee's. I'm loading up on the White Monsters. I'm getting the brisket sandwich, another little snack or something like that. And then all we got to do is skip right across the parking lot. We're in the parking lot of the football stadium.
Man,
It's awesome.
I tell you,
Yeah,
a sleeper at Buc-ee's, the banana pudding, amazing,
yeah, I've had the banana pudding
amazing.
and the trail mix. Like they do their own trail
Yeah,
mixes and stuff like that. Dude, the peanut butter, whatever they call it, peanut butter and jelly trail mix. Dude, it's unreal.
I'm about to try
Unreal, man.
Buc-ee's right now. Oh, actually, major development. Speaking of food, all right, this is a quick one. I don't know if you remember, we talked about school lunch a while back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I found a website. Okay, I don't know how to pronounce it. Gunthers or Gwinthers.com. I don't know, but they sell school lunch, right? Like like the same items, but they buy it wholesale, they repackage it smaller, and you can buy it. Okay. I bought so much school lunch. Okay. The kids at my school know. Cheese crunchers, 36 of them coming.
Yeah.
Stuffed crust dippers, 200 of them coming. And then school pizza, like the classic school pizza, the square school pizza, I think I got like 25 slices of that coming. It's going to be
Dude,
incredible.
that and what are you gonna do? Air fry it, or just
Well,
cafeteria style and throw it in the oven?
gotta air fry it, man. Get a little crispiness on it.
It's so much better. I wish they would take the oven out of my house and just put a giant air
Giant air
fryer in
fryer.
somehow. That's all
Yeah.
you need. Like,
But
we cook so much fryer now.
then again, air fryers are kind of a scam to me. All right, I'll tell you what. Maybe I'm just a weirdo that knows this, but there's always been, because there's like two types of ovens. There's a convection oven, I think.
Mhm.
I don't know. There's another type of oven, right? And the other type is literally just an oven that blows hot air on it, aka an air fryer.
Yeah, I was about to say, air fryer just circulates, right? Isn't that how they kind of work?
Yeah, so they've been around
Oh,
forever. They just made it into this neat little tabletop thing, and now everybody's got one. But whatever, just crazy.
the hidden history of air fryers there.
Yeah, bet you didn't think we
Another
were
good
going down
question.
there.
Yeah, shoot, it always comes back to food. Like I said, like it's such a hard topic not to go off about on a tangent. But Alex Cunningham on TikTok dropped us a comment. And I thought this one was pretty interesting because I get this question a lot. With my vlogs and stuff like that, people wondering how they can get into the coaching profession. He says he's 19 years old, wants to coach. I guess he's volunteering right now with a local school, but he's just asking for tips about how he can get started in the coaching game. So, what are some of your thoughts on that?
They always say it's more about who you know than what you know, and that's kind of across the board for anything. But I think in coaching, that can really help you kind of get a head start into that. If you know whoever that's already on a staff or working somewhere, just to get kind of your foot in the door so that when you apply, you may have to volunteer. We have a guy on our staff right now who's in college. And Coach Sloan, shout out Coach Sloan. You a goat, man, for real. He volunteers. Like this dude goes to class in the morning, goes and works, like wherever he's working, and then comes back in the afternoon and coaches with us for free. And the dude doesn't miss a day. And it's because it's what he wants to do. So he's going to put in the work to get it. And he's really given himself, a great footing for if he wanted to be full time with us or if he wanted to go to another staff or whatever. I mean, that's just kind of how it is. You find a way to get your foot in the door, and then when you get there, you just work, man. Just work, work, work. And, good things will happen to you if you put in the work. But What do you think?
I don't know, that's kind of my thoughts on it, similar enough. I mean, I got into coaching not necessarily by accident, but it wasn't necessarily something I was seeking out. Got hired, big hiring season back in the day. It was about February, March, I feel like was a big hiring season. So I was in the spring of my senior year of college and middle of student teaching, all that good stuff. And I got hired or I had a job interview at a middle school in Belton, South Carolina, not too far from where we grew up, but got that job. Interview went great. I'm happy that I got a job to look forward to once I get done with college and all that. But about a week or so afterwards, got a call from the AD head football coach up the road at Belton Honeypath High School. I got the helmet in the background here. How about them Bears? And we had a pretty good number of our former coaches that were working over there. And I guess word had just traveled that I had gotten the job there. And so just kind of linked up with him, had a little job interview. They happened to have a couple of openings. And that's really how I got my start in coaching and did JV there. And just like you said, just wanted to work my tail off and wanted to make sure I was always there and wanted to be great wherever my 2 feet are. And I think some of that even kind of spun back to when I got done playing at PC and I was kind of working for the team in that student assistant manager type role or whatever it was. And I just want to make sure I was consistent, want to make sure I was busting my tail no matter what the job was. I do remember one time when I was in college, though, I screwed up. That's a whole other story. So probably the most, I don't know, one of my biggest regrets, because I just looking back on it, I was like, that was so crummy of me to do. But you're young and dumb in college and stuff. So I was working for the team and on Friday nights before the games on Saturdays, they would do like a team movie in one of the academic buildings on campus. One, just a way to keep the players from going out and getting in trouble on a Friday night before the game. But we'd always have snacks and all that kind of stuff set up for everybody. And so I had the job of getting a water cooler filled up and run up to the academic building. And, on Friday nights, a lot of the coaches were heading out to recruit high schools and stuff like that. And so I had the keys to the gator, which is step number one. And I was able to get access to a cooler, but where the ice machines and all that stuff were at, again, I'm a student here. I don't have keys to the building or whatever. And we didn't have keypads and all that stuff. So I really couldn't get in, but I probably could have found a way to make it work. Long story short, I did not take the water up to the team movie. And I remember just getting blasted by our position coach who I was working with, and he made sure to let me know that it was a bush league move of me not to take care of him there. I think what really happened was it was technically his responsibility to make sure the water got there, and then he put it on me so he can go
Yeah,
recruit. And
yeah,
so whenever I didn't do it, it fell back on him. Again, I should have
he
just took the
got
water to the team movie. It was bush league of me not to do that.
he got
But
his tail
as
chapped,
I
so he's chapping your
he got
tail.
his tail chapped. So yeah, it rolls downhill, you know what they say. But aside from that, I've always tried to make sure I was working my tail off wherever I'm at.
Yeah,
Even when COVID hit and I got hired on to teach out here, I didn't know it at the time, but it's not really a thing for you to it's not a common thing for you to work at one campus in the district and then coach at another district. They try to have all the coaches on the campus that they're coaching at. But anyway, I got hired on at a middle school to teach. And so I am just doing whatever I can to get in touch with the head coach that was at the high school at the time and was saying, hey, I'm down to volunteer. I don't know anybody in Texas. I'm simply trying to get my foot in the door. I've coached for 4 years here, but just willing to do whatever it takes. And so I volunteered that year and just before we did practice in the morning. So I would go do all the morning stuff, the weights, the meetings, whatever, however much of practice I could stay for until I had to get down to the middle school and do my full teaching load and then come right back in the afternoon and do freshman practice in the afternoons. But yeah, just trying to do whatever it took to be somebody they'd want to bring on full time. Um, and that situation didn't work out. We got a head coaching change, but because of the impact or the impressions that I made, it really helped me when the new guy took the job and he wanted to hire me on, and the rest is kind of history. And it all wound up working out, and I got the job that I was really trying to grind it out for. But I still try to make sure that busting my tail where I'm at. Right, you never should never
yeah,
forget to stay humble, and no job's too big or you're not above doing any tasks.
yeah.
I try not to
And
be one to complain.
I mean, there's a saying I really like that if if you're scared of the work, then you don't want it bad enough. If you're afraid to do everything that you have to do, then you really don't want it. But it's similar. I was very fortunate when I finished my Well, first, at college, I was working at Clemson, right? And you make some good connections there, a lot of people. I got out of college and got a spot working with the Jaguars and working on my master's while I was down there. And it just so happened that right as I finished or was about to finish that master's program, that Coach Norton, the new head coach, he had just been hired at Palmetto, had a spot to fill. And there was a PE opening, which was what my master's was in. And we had known each other from my freshman year of college. And Coach Rowland had been hired as the D coordinator. We worked together in college, and everything kind of fell into place really well, really. And I'm very fortunate for that. But it's not always that lucky, frankly. And if you get an opportunity, just go to work, man. Go to work.
Yeah, a lot of the guys that I get, a lot of coaches out there will send me questions about they want to come coach in Texas or they want to coach. Period. And so one of my biggest things, because they're asking for tips and stuff usually, one of my biggest things is any way you can network, like you talked about. It's not always what you know. Sometimes it's simply who you know, and it just is what it is on that. And that's the way a lot of jobs work.
Yeah.
My biggest advice was one, like if you're in Texas, you need to get certified, understand that teaching's a part of it. I know it's a little different in South Carolina and some other states. So I would first check out what kind of the requirements are, what it's going to take for you to get. If you have to be on a campus, you got to get that teaching job first. Make sure you got your stuff in a row there. And then, networking on the football side of it and make sure you got that taken care of. But there's a lot of job boards out there that I would recommend people look at too. I don't know how necessarily it works in South Carolina, but man, there's just about, I can name 3 or 4 different big job boards that are simply related to Texas high school coaching that a lot of people can check out if they're interested in it. And they get updated often. And sometimes somebody you might work with, or you might be able to find the email of somebody connected to that job. And like you said, just trying to get your foot in the door any way you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah. And I
It goes
think,
a long way.
in South Carolina, at least, I highly recommend, working in the building if you're going to coach. I think it really, it helps the team because having a presence in the building, multiple coaches in the building, it helps the kids because you're there all the time. If whatever's going on, you can talk to them, work through it with them, whatever. But B, it just creates that culture that you really want where it's kind of that support network that schools are there for. We're here for those kids. And if I'm not saying it's bad if you don't work in the school and you also coach, but I think it is important to have as many coaches in the building as you can. But we have positions, adjunct coaches that aren't teachers that just coach. So there are options for you if teaching's not your thing. But yeah, I mean, there's opportunity out there. You just gotta kind of find it.
Let's see. I'm scrolling through here. Another question from TikTok here from DEE on TikTok. Are coaches harder on players they see potential in? I thought that was a pretty interesting question. Me, I don't like the term harder on somebody, but what are your thoughts on that? Are you harder on guys that you see potential in?
I see potential in all of them because there's always a potential to get better. And so I'd like to think I'm equally as hard on all of them because everybody can improve regardless. Now, I will say there are, in some cases, a kid who has all the physical ability in the world, but for mentally, whatever, just lazy. I will be harder on that kid because I know you're half tailing it right now. Like, I know you're not giving me everything. I know you're not focused, whatever it may be, but I'm going to coach you if you're one of my players. I don't care if you're good, bad, ugly. I don't care. I'm going to coach you. That's what I'm here to do. So, no, I don't like to think that. Now, some of my kids might say that just because they're one of the kids that's, lazy or whatever, and I get on them all the time. But no, I think it's pretty even across the board. You?
Yeah, I think, like you said, everybody's got ways they can improve, right? And everybody's got kind of their max potential. Different guys, depending on their body types, their skill sets, this, that, and the other, they've got different ceilings that they can go hit. And it's our job as coaches, no matter who you are, we're going to try to maximize the player you can be and the person you can be. Somebody saying being harder on you, is it being harder about like technique and things like that? Or is it being harder on you because you act a fool in the building?
Yeah.
Your grades ain't right. I
Yeah.
think we're here to hold everybody accountable and try to help them be better people and ultimately better players as well. But we try to coach the whole person, right? I've always heard if your coach stops talking to you and stops giving you feedback, that's a
Problem.
huge red flag because that means they've given up on you
Yeah.
or they just don't see it as worth the effort anymore. So
Yeah.
I would be happy if I'm a player and I'm getting all this feedback, even if I'm, they're being hard on me. Like you
Yeah.
want that feedback. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And, as it goes back to like coaching is not my primary job. I became a teacher because I wanted to be a teacher. I love working with kids, helping them get to where they want to be in life, just being there for them. Coaching is a side part of that. And a lot of people don't see it that way. For some people, it may not be that way. But I became a teacher to be a teacher. And so across the board, even if you're just in my class, I love you. I care about you. I want the best for you. We all in the same boat. If little Jimmy throws the ball and hits so-and-so in the face, and so-and-so throws it back and hits Jimmy in the face, I'm getting on both of you. You both threw the ball, all right? I agree he shouldn't have thrown it in the first place, but it's always the second person that gets caught. I didn't Yeah. Sorry, I'm just getting some PE frustration out. These kids, man, spring fever.
Hey,
Spring
spring
fever.
fever, vent it.
Hey, I'll tell you one thing, though, real quick. The other morning, I got my morning duty. I'm standing outside the gym door. School hasn't even started. 7:50, whatever it is. And one of my kids walks up to me and he watches the videos on TikTok and stuff. He goes, "Do you see my TikTok?" I'm like, "No, I don't follow any of y'all back. Like, I don't know. I'm not doing that." Um, feel free to watch mine. I love it if you watch mine, but no, whatever. So I tell him, he's like, "Here, I'll show you." Let me tell you. For those of you that didn't know, last week, I don't even think you know this. So last week on my way home, totaled my truck. My new truck, I
Whoa.
just bought it less than a year ago. Somebody pulled out in front of
My
me.
gosh.
I couldn't slow down in time. Their fault, whatever, going through that whole process. Things totaled, whatever. Rough week, okay? So I walk in and this kid meets me there and he's a good kid, but he can be, I don't know the right word, rambunctious, whatever. He can get riled up by
Okay.
others. Yeah. He comes up to me, asks me about the TikTok. So I'm like, no, he shows me. This dude had made a TikTok and it said like, never thought I'd have a favorite teacher or something. Hold on, I got it right here. Let me just pull it up. The best teacher I think I've had in my whole life. And I'm like, okay, he's about to roast me, whatever. And it's a terrible picture. It's like of my bald head, whatever. But then goes on to say he's like, uh, he says it's Wardlaw. He's one of those teachers that makes you feel better about yourself. Instead of calling you bad kid, he'll help you mature. All these nice things. And I'm like, man, you can't be doing this to me at 7:50 in the morning, man. I'm just getting my day started, just wrecked my truck. I'm like, appreciate it, man. I really appreciate it. But, moments like that, and I know that's sidetracked, but
I think that's what it's all about. Like, whether
yeah,
it's in the classroom or out there on the field, like when you've made an impact on somebody, of all the great things that I enjoy about doing what I do, like, those things really make you
yeah.
just forget how much of an impact you can have on people. And there's something rewarding about that.
And sometimes I feel like it's forgotten. Some of these kids, man, I swear, they don't realize the time, the effort, everything the teachers and coaches put in for them. Like, they don't realize, I got home at 9:30, 10 o'clock the other night so I could watch your soccer game. I wasn't working it, nothing. I just wanted to watch it, come support you, whatever. Like you got children at home, you're coaching, you're gone, you get home. I don't think it processes in their mind that you're kind of sacrificing that time to help them. And so, whatever. Long story short, thank a teacher, thank a coach. They put in a lot of effort to be there for you. But anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. That was just,
Nah, nah, you good, man. It's funny you say that because we had spring football yesterday, right? We had meetings in the morning starting at 7:15. Then we did the weights. Then we did our first period stuff with the freshman guys. Then we had practice in the afternoon. Then had my kids had baseball, t-ball, all that kind of stuff. His practice was over at 9 o'clock, which is like a whole separate subject. Why we got first graders practice until 9 o'clock? But anyway, and then I had made the bold bet with my son that if he hit the ball a certain distance, whenever he got some BP in practice, that I'd hook him up with a Gatorade and all that. So Sure enough, he called my bluff on it. So we're at the 7-Eleven. It's 9:30 at night on a Monday or Tuesday. We're in there. I'm dog tired. He's tired, but he's wanting that Gatorade to cash in on. And so we're in the 7-Eleven, and one of my students comes bebopping in. And like you said, he's one of my characters. I think he's got a good heart and all that kind of stuff. But he just talked to me right there in the store. Like, he was so happy to see me, so
Yeah.
excited to see me. And it's just like, man, I really didn't think you gave one rip about
Right.
me being your teacher and all that. But the fact that you're so excited to see me right here and we're having a nice little conversation, like, warms the heart a little bit.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you're talking about hitting the ball a certain distance. You played rec baseball with this kid, built like a truck. And I remember coming to one of your games as a kid. I mean, I don't know how old you were. This kid, his mom would yell and just be like, son, hit a triple. I'll take it, Burger King. Wham. Knocks the crap
Oh,
out
I
of the
know
ball.
exactly who you're
Yeah.
talking about. I know exactly who you're talking about. Dude was built like a freaking one technique
Oh, yeah.
playing
I'd take him right
coach's
now.
pitch. Oh, absolutely. I wonder what, I guarantee you right now, if I ran into him in the grocery store, he's going to be 6'1",
But yeah,
probably 280. You know, just looks like he got some fast twitch still. I know exactly what you're talking
I'll
about. But
never
Burger
forget it.
King was the way to his heart.
Yeah, I get some chicken fries for a single, double cheeseburger for that double now, and then boom, he would just nail it. And he wasn't like, an
Hey,
amazing baseball player, but like that Burger King came up, it's a wrap.
defense was a struggle for him, but you want to talk about DH? If like we had those whenever we were playing Little League baseball, like this kid would have been. Uh, yeah, it's kind of like in what was that movie, The Benchwarmers? When the
Oh
grown man
yeah,
comes out
yeah.
there
I
and
am
he's got
12.
the birth certificate. I am 12 with the dollar bill in it. That's exactly what this kid was like. Yeah, man. Speaking of straight talent, one of our other questions we got dropped here from Isaac E on TikTok. Yeah, we just had the NFL draft this weekend, and I don't know how much you keep up with that and stuff, but what do you think was the biggest surprise about the 2025 draft? I think everybody in the room knows what the biggest kind of
Right.
storyline was. What are your thoughts on how the draft went this past weekend?
Well, yeah, we all know what the biggest storyline is, but I won't talk about that. But for me, yeah, I'm wearing the Jags hat, obviously. So I like their move to trade up, get Travis Hunter. I like that. Just, because I'm a Jags guy. For the most part, it kind of just it goes like you always expect it. I mean, they have all these mock drafts now that it's like no surprise anymore. There's a couple
How
sprinkled
about
in, but
the Mel Kiper, right? He's the guy been doing it. Like that's literally what his career is, right? Is these mock
yeah.
drafts and scouting. And he's going off on this tangent about Shador dropping out of the first round. And my kind of thoughts on it are I had heard this was kind of a weaker draft anyway from just the episodes I listened to of different
Yeah.
stuff you see on Twitter and all that. And, um, it seems like a lot of folks didn't view him talent wise as a first round pick anyway. And so then if you don't think he's a walk in starting quarterback in the league, you definitely don't want your first round draft pick to be some kind of celebrity. You got the starter in his locker room, got less reporters talking to him than the backup quarterback or
Yeah.
the third string quarterback. And so it made sense to me. Like once you kind of got past that first round, early second round, obviously some teams didn't see him as the step in and be a starter kind of guy. And I didn't expect him to go fifth round, but shoot, I don't even think the Browns really wanted him. I don't think the coaches really wanted him when they took him from judging that reaction. I don't know if you saw the video of
Yeah.
the staff reacting to the pick. I definitely think ownership maybe stepped in and said, "Hey, we got to take this guy now." Yeah, I think I like what the Cowboys did. I try to cheer for the local team, but I like the Jags too. I got a pretty solid Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne sports card collection, so it'd be really nice if I got some value back on some of the investments I've
Yeah.
made in those cards. But I think the Cowboys, yeah, they picked the lineman, pick Booker with the first pick. The one thing I've learned about Dallas, all the things that they might screw up sometimes, they're usually pretty spot on when it comes to first round offensive line
Yeah.
draft picks. I'm going to trust the process on that. I'd heard a lot about the Boston College kid that they picked up with that next pick. So, I mean, I think, and then judging by some of the other articles and stuff I've read, I think they had a pretty solid draft. But the biggest story for us Clemson guys right here is our boy Hunter Renfrow signing with the
He's
Panthers. Come back.
back.
He's back, dude. He is back. Dude, what a story. The Hunter Renfrow arc.
Dude.
Yeah, like, and I know, were you in college about the same time as him? I feel like y'all
Yeah.
crossed paths a little bit.
So I think he's Sawyer's age, who we had on last week. So he's a year older than me, I think. But we were there most of the time together. Yeah, that catch in the national championship in the corner, and then the whole stadium goes insane, beat Alabama for the natty.
We were in that end zone when we were there watching it.
Dude.
Like, we were right beside the band, or the band was like right in front of us. And the amount of like trumpets and whatever other instruments that just went in the air when that ball was caught. And I mean, you go to a Clemson game, everybody's family, right? So everybody's just hugging everybody.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know who you're slapping hands with, who you're giving a bro hug to, like 2 rows back. But that is an all-time moment.
It was the same on the sideline. Like, dude, I'm telling you, I'm built. I ain't small, but I'm telling you, I hit at least 36 inches off the ground, just jumping, hands up in the air. You're hugging whoever's next to you.
Up.
Dude, it was. And then, yeah, that was insane. Probably, I'll never forget that moment. Probably one of the top moments, so far in 29 years of life. But, Hunter Renfrow, and what I didn't realize is he had ulcerative colitis, which is why he was not in the NFL last year.
I did not realize that. That's
He
like
was
a
like,
serious condition, and like, wow.
Yeah, he had dropped to like 157. Like, he had gotten so small, and then, he's back up to weight now, but I didn't realize he was struggling with that. That's why he just kind of
That is,
disappeared. But
that is, sheesh. No, I didn't realize he was going through that. I know I've got, I talked about my Trevor Lawrence and ETN sports car collection. I've got a solid investment in Hunter Renfrow too, and just for him and his family's sake too, I'm hoping it kind of works out for him going back to Carolina.
Well, and he's
being
like
the hometown guy.
He's just like you see your neighbor on a Saturday mowing the grass. That's just what he looks like. He just looks like a random dude. And then he goes out there and runs like the cleanest route you've ever seen. And dude's cooked. 5-star corners just cooked by Hunter Renfrow, like 5'10". But yeah, have you seen the dude the Patriots drafted him, Will Campbell, the lineman?
The offensive lineman from LSU? Yeah.
Dude's hilarious, man. Hilarious.
Yeah, he just seems like a guy being a dude, man. Seems like he's got the right mindset that you want to hear from with your offensive line.
Well, yeah, dude. And like they told him, so he's going from Louisiana to Massachusetts to play for the Patriots, and they asked him about the cold weather or something, and he's just like, "Well, if I get cold," or he said like, "I'm a hunter, I'm used to the cold, whatever, and if I get cold, I'll buy a coat." It's like, all right.
Yeah, that's one way to do it. Jeez, yeah. Speaking of, you talk about Hunter Renfrow, who walk on at Clemson, right, and becomes literally a Clemson legend. You talk about him going out there and going against anybody in college football, and he's just dicing them up right. Just all-star prospect, walk-on guy from the coastal area, the low country of South Carolina. Talk about just how that kind of player can come from literally out of nowhere and kind of had to make his own way. And then you got some of these areas that produce these consistent, high-rated recruits and all that. And you see a lot of them pan out, of course, but then, of course, you have your fair share that doesn't pan out.
Yeah.
We had one question on here that I feel like would be a solid little debate about what state does high school football the best or produces the best talent. And I had my thoughts on it, but I figured I had to ask you to hear your thoughts.
All right. So, what state does high school football the best, or what state puts out the best talent?
Let me get the exact.
Two different questions.
Let me get the exact question here. It just says, what state does high school football the best? So I guess you can take it some different ways here.
I'll give you two answers. So what state does high school football the best? I mean, after coming out and visiting Texas and seeing some of the schools around there, in terms of facilities and just atmosphere around these games, I'd say Texas does it the best. As far as talent,
I was stumped on that one too, because it's just, how do you define that question? Like, so many people like to argue about that, like what state produces the best, right? All this and that. But every state's different. And so if you're a state like Georgia, whose population is nowhere near a Texas, California, But if you look at like the data, they put out a lot of draft picks for to be a smaller state. So, if you're looking at ratios and all that, Georgia puts out their fair amount. Obviously, your Florida, Texas, California, Ohio pulls their fair amount, and you got these different pockets around the country and stuff. So to me, it's not fair to try to just say one state's the best. Now, I do agree with you if you're talking about how is high school football structured
Yeah,
and
that's
the
Texas.
support and the investment and all that. I'm a little biased, but I'm going to say Texas because, like we talked about earlier, you got every coach is in the building. You got community support, financially and, we're just showing up at games and stuff and traveling. Man, we'll have a road game 3 hours away, and we've got a great following at our school. We've about packed out the visitor stands at a road game 3-4 hours away in College Station or Lufkin, Texas, wherever. I mean, it's almost like a college type following where, hey, it's a road trip. The whole town's riding out. Like we're going. You see these state championship games, and when you go to the 5A, 6A state championship games in Texas, they're playing at AT&T Stadium,
Yeah,
and the lower bowl into the second deck, it is full. Like you're getting 50,000 people there to watch
yeah,
state high school football games.
that's
So I
insane.
mean, I'm biased, but in terms of the structure and how it's organized and all that kind of stuff, I'm going to say Texas. But I don't think it's a fair thing to say one state produces the best players and
No,
all that
well,
kind of
so
stuff.
I've been doing some research over here. I think I have my answer as far as talent.
All right.
All right, so let's see what date this is. This is 247 Sports, right? Ranks states by top recruits, and Texas number 1 at 43. Now, let me finish. 2 is Florida with 31. All right. And so here's my analysis. Texas has a population of 31.29 million. Florida's only at 23 million. All right. So Florida's only got 12 less 5-star, or however they rank these, counted them, and a significantly less population. So I guess per capita, Florida.
Yeah, I mean, and I had no doubts. Florida was going to be up there. Like, I remember growing up, you just heard about the skill talent that is in
The
Florida.
speed.
Yeah, Florida speed. I think there's a lot of truth out there. Now, I have heard some horror stories about coaching in Florida, and it
Yeah.
would not necessarily be a state that I want to go coach in, just because, like we talked about, how it's all set up and stuff. But yeah, I think you got Jimmy's and Joe's if you're out there. I think it also helps they have the IMG Academy out there. And so, how do they count? You know, the 5-star guys at IMG? Do they count towards Florida's total or their home state's total? But
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I got no doubts that Florida's got the talent and they got the speed. Like, who was those guys Florida had, the Florida Gators had in the Tebow days,
Dude.
that there was literally an ESPN segment on those guys running around and catching rabbits. Like, that was their speed training, was running and catching rabbits out and about.
I mean, that's
That's
probably
wild, man.
it probably works pretty well. And then you got a lineman out there fighting gators. And then, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, all right. So this can kind of be our end cap here for this episode, but
are
fun
we already
little
done? What time is it?
off topic type deal. But if you had to say like where you would want your position groups to come from, all right. So where do you want your position groups to come from? If we go through the different groups here, for me, all right, gosh, I probably should have gave us a minute to kind of think about this. I'm going to say any kind of wide receiver or DB, we're going Florida.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Agree with me there?
Yeah. 100%.
I think a lot of folks can agree on that. If I'm going to go, line, I've always heard some about defensive line and yeah, defensive line from Georgia,
Yeah.
like them having some different cats out there. I would say Texas for the quarterback, California, maybe. I guess you could kind of entertain that for quarterbacks. I don't know. I'm trying to think of who you kind of always hear about coming out as a quarterback, and I feel like it's California or Texas when it comes to that group. Running back, I mean, I guess you could go Florida again. I think you
Why
could go
not?
Georgia.
Yeah, you
I
could go
mean,
multiple for the running back.
yeah, I feel like anywhere in the Bible Belt, you're bound to find a good running back. Shoot,
I,
ETN was from Louisiana, wasn't he?
yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you what I want. I want my lineman, offensive lineman, either from like Iowa or Nebraska
Oh, yes.
or
Yes.
Arkansas, just somewhere in the middle of nowhere where there's nothing but
Give
do
me
but
a
corn,
yeah,
eat
give me a
corn.
Midwestern. Give me a
Yeah.
Wisconsin offensive lineman,
Yep.
somebody just corn fed. Yeah, anywhere kind of that no Nebraska, Iowa,
I'm trying to think of
Wisconsin,
where my
the
tight end.
Dakotas. Tight ends, yeah, that's interesting. You want that combination. You want that
Yeah.
combination of size, speed. I feel like you could go back to the Bible Belt for that, where you're gonna need to find a little freak of nature that can do a little
Yeah.
bit of
I mean,
everything.
let's be honest. If you just cut the country in half, top and bottom, and they played football, the South would win. I mean,
But yeah, yeah,
you
they're
got Texas,
below the
Georgia.
Mason.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's no
you could literally
contest.
stay below the Mason-Dixon, and of course, I've heard you can come out to Texas and you could literally just go along Interstate 20 and get yourself a national championship football team. Like you
Sure.
just go along to high schools on Interstate 20 because you cut through like South Dallas, you cut through Fort Worth. Like you could get some dudes like just knowing some of the schools. Duncanville High School, that's a big name. There's South Dallas off 20 a little bit. I mean, there are some, but yeah, you want that combination. I don't know. I'm trying to think linebackers. I feel like Pennsylvania. I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking about Penn
Okay.
State, but I feel
Yeah.
like there's you just want like that solid guy looks like Sylvester Stallone out there playing linebacker
Yeah.
for you with like the old school like cowboy neck roll thing. I feel like you can get some of that in Oklahoma too. Now maybe I'm just thinking
Yeah.
about Brian Bosworth
Yeah.
and
Maybe.
all that,
Maybe.
but I feel like a
I
good northeastern linebacker, you might be able to find somebody there.
I want to add some Cajun in there, but I don't know what. I feel like he should play.
Oh, yeah. Where would you throw a Cajun? I feel like you can get
You know what? Just
you could
give me
probably
an outside backer that's just Cajun, used to chasing whatever out in the bayou. I'll take that.
who was that guy? Maybe he played at Alabama. What was his name? Had one of the greatest football names of all time. DeColdest. His name was like
What?
DeColdest. His first name was DeColdest.
Is
I'm
his
pretty
rap
sure.
name or his real name? Hold on. The
That is
coldest.
his. I'm pretty sure that's his government name. Yeah, we gotta search that up.
All
But
right, let's see.
yeah, there was that other guy played at Bama. I'm pretty sure Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Kool-Aid, haha, Clinton
Ha
Dix.
ha, Clinton Dix. Yeah,
Let's
hey, there
see.
are some. Yeah, I think it's DeColdest Crawford. Maybe was the guy's name.
What a terrible last. General Booty. How do we
General
forget about
Booty.
General Booty?
That's a Texas guy. Pretty sure, right? Went to Oklahoma, maybe.
Uh, yeah, played at Monroe, I don't know. It looks like Louisiana, maybe.
Huh. Yeah, I feel like I don't know. I feel like
The
any state that can
coldest.
produce. Yeah, you got. I'm pretty sure his name was Dakotas Crawford. Don't ask me how to spell it,
No,
but
it looks like it is. The coldest Crawford popped up. Yeah, day coldest. Louisiana Tech Bulldogs. That's
Louisiana Tech.
insane.
He's got a. I don't think. I think he went somewhere else out of high school. Has he got his transfer portal history on there? He might have gone to La
Coldest.
Tech, but
Bio's looking pretty blank. Oh, so he was in Nebraska for a season.
okay.
He's from Shreveport, Nebraska,
Shreveport.
22 to 23, one season. LA Tech for one season, and then I guess he went AWOL. Nobody knows where he is now, but
I wonder how he's doing now. Dakotas, if you're listening, man, we'd love to have you on the podcast.
oh my God, is that a real name? Squirrel? Squirrel White?
Worldwide, A&M, Texas A&M, right? No, where's he at?
Florida State, Tennessee. I forgot
Well,
transfer
he's bounced
portal
around.
makes this hard.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track of guys when they've gone to like. How about the guy? I think was at Tulane most recently, but he's about to go to like his sixth school. Like he's been what's his name? TJ Finley.
Yeah,
Throw that in the search engine. Let's go
that's a
down that.
problem. TJ Finley.
Pretty sure, yeah. Pretty sure that's him. Yeah, he's made a lot of different spots over the
Yeah.
years.
All right. The first thing pops up, TJ Finley in the portal again. And look at his bio. Oh, transfers. There's a whole tab for transfers.
He
It's
probably
like
needs a whole web page.
Auburn, LSU, Tulane, Texas State, Western Kentucky.
Wow, my dude has gone through the what is that? This guy said he started at Auburn. Is that what he said?
Looks like he started LSU, 2020, Auburn 2021,
SEC.
Texas State. What? Okay, so he was at Auburn until 2023. Transferred to Texas State 2020.
Hey, I love Texas State. That's a pretty area.
6 days later, transferred to Western Kentucky, and then later that year transferred to Tulane. Oh, he got suspended indefinitely from the Tulane football team for arrest, illegal possession of a stolen Dodge Ram truck. Yikes!
Yeah.
Hate
Whoops.
to see it.
My bad, buddy. Didn't mean to put your business out there. Speaking of business getting put out there, how about this stuff? Have you been keeping up with the Bill Belichick and his girlfriend? Like, dude, what's going on there? Like, they said she's basically running his emails now, and
Yeah, I
they were
don't know
going to do
what to
Hard
think.
Knocks. They were going to do Hard Knocks there, and apparently she nixed it. She wanted to be listed as like an executive producer or something for the North Carolina Hard Knocks thing they were going to do.
Yeah.
HBO or whoever was like, nah, we ain't doing that.
She ruined it for all of us. That would have been
Yeah,
cool to
exactly.
watch.
Dude, I would love to see because that was something he was never going to do in New England was Hard
Yeah.
Knocks. Like he was all about his business, right? That was kind of what they were famous for. But him going to college, I guess he felt the need to kind of get the exposure, right? Get whatever, get the brand out there, and then old girl ruins it for everybody. Like, how awesome would Bill Belichick on Hard Knocks probably have been?
Incredible. Even just the TikTok clips I've seen at UNC
Yeah.
practice, I watch them all the time. But I don't know how I feel about it, man. Part of me is like, yeah, it's weird. The age difference weird. The other part of me is like, you know what, good for him. Do what you want. I don't care. I don't know, man.
So, well, my thing is, as odd and eye raising as it might be, it probably happens way more often with some of these wealthy guys on they're out of their marriage or whatever, or they're single and, they go and, yeah, it is what it is. I can't say if I wasn't a single guy out there and had plenty of money and all that good stuff, I would just do what I wanted. It kind of is what it is on that. But,
Yeah.
yeah, the whole CBS interview thing, did you see that?
Yeah, where she like interrupted the whole thing.
It's weird. It's weird. But no, I was so mad when I heard that she was the reason we weren't going to get a Bill Belichick Hard Knocks episode or series. God, that would have been
Yeah.
great.
I would have watched the crap out of that. Like I watched all the Hard Knocks already anyway, but the college one?
Yes, yeah. Another thing I don't think we're going to get again. Did you watch the off-season Hard Knocks?
I did. Yes.
So I got a feeling after the whole, they caught that whole Saquon Barkley saga on camera, basically, right? And how
So
they
embarrassed.
kind of let him go, and Saquon goes on to do
Yeah.
what he does, and they win the Super Bowl and all that. I got a feeling now nobody's going to want to do the GM off-season Hard Knocks, but
No, and
I like
even
it personally.
I loved it. And it's cool for people to see the other side of it. You always see clips or whatever, the regular Hard Knocks during the season, but I think it's cool for people to see who've never seen it before how the whole other side of that works. Football season's not the entire year. So I think it's cool to see that part. But what killed me was his son. The GM's son told him to
Called
draft
it.
Jaden Daniels,
Called it.
and
Called
he
it, man.
didn't.
Yeah, nah, it did not work out.
Brutal.
Did not work out for him. No,
Brutal,
that's
man.
another moment that'll live in infamy. Yeah, one thing when I was watching the off-season Hard Knocks that I thought was just kind of eyebrow raising. You hear about these guys that are GMs of these billion-dollar franchises, right? And they've obviously got all this computer software and all that. They got all these databases where they got prospects and all that. But then when you go and you're watching the episode where it's like the combine or a
Yeah.
pro day or something like that, and they're talking to the GMs from the other teams, when they're talking about like the draft proposals and stuff, it literally sounds like me and the fantasy football league that I might be
Yeah.
in talking about
Yeah.
making a trade happen. Like it's just kind of guys being dudes, guys playing
Yeah.
Madden in real life.
Oh, it's
It's
like,
not as like official as I thought it would sound.
they have the giant whiteboard with all the names, and they're just like, "What'd you think of this guy?" Like, he came in with his shirt wrinkled. I don't really know how I feel about him. And it's just like, what? That's how these decisions are made? Are you
That's what
kidding
we're
me?
drawing the line,
Like,
man.
man, it's great. Oh, I got something for you. This has been going around. I've seen it on Twitter. The kids are talking about it. You've probably heard about it. I guess this is the debate of the day or debate of the week question. 100 men versus one gorilla. What you got?
So I actually just talked about this with one of my classes today. So we actually did a little bit of a deep dive. We were done talking about black holes in astronomy class, and um, somebody proposed that question. Great debate topic.
Oh,
So the first thing we
fantastic.
had to do was some background research, right? When we're talking 100 men, are we talking 100 average build? Are we talking 100 morbidly obese? We went and we crunched the numbers. So average build for a man, whenever I Googled it, now I didn't check my sources and all that good stuff. Average build, 199 pounds with a 40-inch waist. All right. Those proportions to me off the jump don't sound like we're talking about peak male physicality. And so then we run the numbers on the average gorilla.
Yeah,
Average gorilla is 350, 500 pounds. If you're talking
it's
about
a
a
lot.
male, it's a lot. We're talking about with the muscle capacity. If you could teach one to bench press, you're talking about dang near 1,000-pound bench press or something
Yeah,
stupid. It would take some coordination. I think that might be where the 100 guys have somewhat of an advantage. If you could say at the exact same time, 5 to 10 dudes get on each appendage
yeah. Well,
and
you got to
hold on
coordinate
for your
this thing.
life. Yeah. You can't just go in there cold turkey, no plan. You
No.
got to scout the opponent, see where the weaknesses are. I think you got to have however many minutes it takes. We got 100 to choose from, holding down each arm, each leg. Probably need somebody like in the vice hold. I think off sheer quantity, I might would take the 100 men, if they can be coordinated. But if they're going in there cold turkey and it's just kind of everybody's scared and one at a time, one guy steps out, like
It's a wrap,
your
dude.
girl's
He's
gonna pick
just
you apart. Yeah.
boom, like just sending them.
Well, my son went to he had a field trip at the zoo the other day. They said one of the gorillas at the Dallas Zoo barreled as fast as possible into the glass and like rattled like the wall and then just walked away like it was nothing. Like just wanted to just kind of assert that he was the silverback in the group. And I'm like, dude, if he can run smack dab into I don't know how thick the glass is at those zoos.
It ain't thin.
No, dude, no,
Ah.
can't be.
All right, so I'm still thinking about my response. I haven't given my kids my response yet. But all right, so the gorilla, I'm assuming it's the silverback, the biggest one. All right, so if it's like you said, if it's 100 people, I'm not taking that bet because you could throw 100 elementary school kids at me, and that dude would just throw them, wherever.
We like
But if
bowling
it's
pins.
like, yeah, if it's like 100 dudes from a penitentiary, I'm feeling
Now we're
better.
talking.
But again,
Now
you'd
we're
have to
talking.
coordinate it. And you know what? I think I looked it up earlier. A silverback gorilla, yeah, 7 to 18 times stronger than an adult male. So, by the numbers, the men have the advantage in that one regard. But it's just hard to imagine, man. Because you also got to think the first batch go trying to grab the arm or whatever. If they get absolutely pummeled and like just tore up and they're just laying there, you think the other 95 are ready to go?
Oh, that was my whole thing. That's why you gotta be coordinated. Like
Yeah,
if it's just kind of we're gonna be in a circle and one guy at a time kind of gets brave and steps out, you are getting decapitated. It is simple as that. Like no offense or buts. You gotta have and you gotta be like on a timer, like 3, 2, 1, and then we like get confuse the grill a little bit.
yeah, you have to
Don't make it
because
easy on them.
that's the one advantage is the intellect. But again, the average man, average person, I don't know if the intellect is higher than some gorillas.
If teaching public school is kind of telling you anything about where the average intellect is and all
Mm,
that good stuff, it doesn't bode well. I mean,
not
my
at
gut's
all.
just telling me 100 men. I think the sheer quantity. I think the better question would be, what's the lowest number of average men that could take on a gorilla? I think that's where a real debate can happen. Like, how low is the number before
Average
we feel like,
gorilla and average men.
yeah,
What?
so instead of 100 men, do you think 50 men could take on the one gorilla? 20?
Final answer.
20?
The average gorilla too, though, not like King Kong out there, but like
Yeah, no, valid,
the average
valid.
gorilla and 20 average dudes. So what does that give you? 5 on each limb, but you need some
It
left
gives
over for like
you
the face.
you gotta have somebody doing like a chokehold. I just feel like
Yeah,
you need 21 maybe. I think you need like
21.
5 each. But then you gotta think about space too. Like how many dudes can actually grab a hold? Like, is there enough real estate
Yeah.
there on the gorilla's arm? Like, can you maybe only get 4 guys on each arm?
This is gonna
I
keep
don't know.
me up tonight.
It's a great topic. We need Mr. Beast or somebody with a lot of money to pay 100 dude to try it out and sign some waivers and try to make something happen. You talk about the Jake Paul fight and all that with Tyson last year. I think that would be an even better pay-per-view. Sign me up right now.
For Paul versus a gorilla, or just 100 men versus a
No,
gorilla?
for the 100 dudes versus the gorilla.
Battle royale, just whoever's the last one in the ring.
Yeah, I would pay. I think I paid $10 to watch WrestleMania this year. I would easily pay 15 to 20, easily, like no questions asked, to
Oh
see
yeah,
the men versus the gorilla.
I'd pay.
That'd be awesome.
I would pay probably $500 to see that. Where else
500.
are you gonna see that? Like, that's one of a kind. Unless somebody falls into the zoo enclosure, RIP Harambe, you ain't seeing that. Man versus gorilla. You're just not. And
Valid.
they're not gonna be able to do it again after that. The people will just get destroyed.
Yeah, it's a
So
one and done. Get your cash now.
yeah,
They ought to say, hey, everybody throw in like $500. All right. And whatever the pot of money is, like if the dudes win,
they get it.
they get to split the pot of money.
Now we're talking. Now we're talking about some motivated men. All right.
Yeah,
Well, I'll take the men. I'll take the men.
I think so too. I got faith in humanity.
Yeah, there was something else I think I wrote it down. I can't remember. I don't know. I might think of it. I don't know.
I got you. We hit the hour mark, man, on this week's episode.
We
Appreciate your
did
time
it.
again. Yeah, we were talking about on the live stream before we started recording the show. I was telling you about some of the listener stats that we've had so far. So just the listening audience, obviously the bulk of you listeners come from the good old US of A. Heavy portion coming from the Bible Belt. Shout out to you guys. Appreciate you guys listening. However you listen to your podcast. We also appreciate our listeners apparently that we have in Mexico, Poland, Russia, and
Mexico.
Canada. Yeah, Canada represent too. We almost got North America taken care of, man.
I was going to bring up banana ball. Savannah
Dude,
Bananas.
yes. Yes. How was that?
All right, so here's my take. All right, first off, when we were watching it, if you're going to watch baseball, that's not what it is. It's entertainment. Okay. There is baseball being played. They have their own rules and all that kind of stuff. But I kept thinking, this is like, and my girlfriend mentioned that it's like the circus. I forget the dude's name, but there's a guy in a yellow suit with the yellow top hat running the banana ball, and it's like the more you look at it, you're like, all right, there's a dude on stilts that's really tall. There's a twerking umpire. There's all these other things. You're like, this really is the circus, and they sold 81,000 tickets in here. But the more I thought about it, the dude's a genius because it was like a minor league baseball team that was, failing, not making much money, and they created this concept where it's got something for everybody. So like the kids love all the dancing and backflip catches, all the crazy stuff, and the moms are there. They rip their shirt off. That's something for the mothers. They can watch that. And then there's baseball
Man,
for
I
the
remember that
dads.
one. Really.
I
Yeah,
mean, it's
dude.
like,
Well, I saw, and it's funny you brought that up. I can't believe we didn't talk about this sooner. And for the folks that maybe are clueless, so the Savannah Banana baseball team, right? The banana ball, the fun baseball, they took over Clemson's football stadium this past weekend. Jack was lucky enough to win the lottery and got to go watch it. So he was one of the 80,000 people that were in attendance. But I saw, way back when the ownership group first bought them, they went into like 1.8 million in debt to acquire the team and just kind of, when they took over operations and all that. And now they're selling out Clemson's football stadium. I think it said they were going to like 4 other football
yeah,
stadiums
yeah, they have like a
and
whole
then
tour.
MLB ballparks. Yeah, it's going to be ridiculous. And then I think they're starting a franchise out here in Texas called the Texas Tailgaters, but
Yeah.
it's going to be the same brand of
I think they're
banana
starting
ball.
like a whole league. There's gonna be like 6 teams or something total eventually. I mean, it's insane, dude.
They
But
have, like you said, they have
it was cool.
turned nothing to something.
It was definitely cool. It's interesting they put a time limit on it, and I think this was their first football stadium event, and so I'm not gonna bash on them because it was a lot of people there, but, we ended up waiting an hour to get some merch, get a pizza, whatever. I mean, that kinda took away from it, but that's not their fault. I mean, that's the venue, whatever, working out the kinks. But it's definitely cool. Would I buy another ticket? I don't know, It's cool, but,
Sold
like,
on it? Is it
it's
like a
cheap.
one and done kind of thing?
Yeah, it's just if I had kids, I'd probably definitely buy more tickets, but I mean, I could they streamed it. I found out while we're walking into the stadium, they streamed it, and I'm out here sweating, just walked 2 miles from Kite Hill and Clemson, like, I coulda just watched this on the TV. Are you
I
kidding
think
me
it
right
was
now?
I think it was on ESPN2, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. But no, it was cool. It was really cool to be there. It was a big event in the upstate, and everybody was kinda talking about it, but I got the kids some shirts. I'll send them your way. Man,
Hey,
Blake.
appreciate it, man. Yeah, no, we were eating out at Chili's. I was enjoying my triple dipper when you gave me that call, but yeah, we were jealous, man. We were jealous. We got a buddy we went to college with. He lives in Savannah and has still not been able to get tickets to go watch him down there.
Oh, it's
And
crazy,
so the
dude,
fact that he won that lottery,
the lottery was, like, a three-step process. Like, you had to put in your info, wait a month or whatever, you got picked, but hold on, that doesn't mean you got tickets. You get assigned a time window, and so there's, like it's kinda like registering for college where you had the 8 AM time slot, you got to register at 8, 10, or whatever,
that was the
and
worst.
if you had the 3 o'clock time slot and all the tickets were sold by then, sorry, you won the lottery, but you didn't get a ticket. So it was this whole thing to even get a ticket, but, it was worth it, it was really cool, and they played, you remember the Eagles head coach this is the last thing, and I'll shut up, but the Eagles head coach in the Super Bowl, right? I guess last year, uh,
When he cried?
cried in the national anthem. So
Yeah.
they're playing the national anthem before the Savannah Bananas game, and I don't know his name, Banana the banana guy, the guy in the yellow suit, the orchestrator of this whole thing, is doing the same thing. They show him on the screen, dude's crying to the national anthem. And at first I was gonna make fun of him, but then I was like, this dude actually kinda created this thing out of midair, and it's
Yeah.
so successful. I'd probably cry too because he's probably doing pretty well for himself right now, but
Oh yeah, life's pretty good right now.
yeah, no, so that was kinda funny, but it was cool. Definitely recommend it, at least once if you're able to get a ticket.
You guys heard it here first. If you got the Savannah Bananas coming to your area, do what it takes to get the tickets. It's worth the one-time deal. I appreciate your time again tonight, man. I know the folks
Oh, yeah.
listening enjoy hearing us from wherever they're listening from. As always, you guys can catch our new episodes every Sunday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast. The videos on YouTube, be sure to check those out. Drop comments for us. Be sure to subscribe, 5-star comments or 5-star reviews, all that good stuff. It helps us out. It helps get the podcast out there more. And we appreciate you guys spending your time with us.
Yeah, man. Always good to be here. Second block's the best, by the way. Don't hate me.